The first thing that came into my awareness was the idea of 144,000 timelines. So I heard the word 144,000, which, we hear all the time. It has lots of different meanings. But then I was like, I've never heard 144,000 timelines before. But it is a galactic scale, multidimensional timeline collapse. The number 144,000 being a symbol of cosmic harmony. Welcome to Activations with JJ 12/12/2024 portal update. I'm really excited to dive into the energies for this specific 12/12 portal. I've had a lot of themes dropping in, and I can't wait to share them with you so that you can let me know what you're feeling and if these are resonating with you. They've been varied and they're different than last year. I thought going into the 12/12 portal, it would literally be the same as 2023. And it was like, nope, completely different themes. We're in a different space. And so I'm going to kind of take these one by one, and it is going to feel a little scattery maybe, but by the time we get to the end, I hope we can wrap it all up and really feel complete and help you sort of know that you can take all these puzzle pieces and do with them what you feel you need to do with them as you step into the 12/12 portal energy. So that being said, let's slide into what's been coming through. I should probably back up to last year, 2023, and what dropped in for the 12/12 portal. I had been working really strongly with the Golden Age frequencies, specifically Lemuria, Atlantis, and Avalon. And what I was shown in that 12/12 portal is it was a Golden Age portal that Atlantean energies were leading out, the 3, 6, 9. You take the 3, the 6, and the 9, and those are Atlantean, Lemurian, and Avalon, and you merge them into the 12/12 to become that Golden Age frequency. So everything last year was all about Atlantean energies, Golden Age energies, merging. Okay, so that's important for you to know. So stepping into this year, I'm like, oh yeah, I know the 12/12 portal is the Golden Atlantis portal. And we're converging in that Golden Atlantis portal, weaving it together with Golden Lemuria and Golden Avalon. And then I started feeling other themes coming through because we are, we're always shifting, we're always changing. And we're in this really incredible time period I wouldn't say post-convergence, we're like mid-convergence, which puts us into the theme that I'm about to share with you. And that theme is something that's come up before. You're going to want to check out my other podcasts about this because I haven't talked about it for a while. But that is timeline collapsing. All right. Now I understand that convergence, this galactic convergence, is connected to timeline collapsing, but there was just like this little different flavor. So I was tuning in and going, okay, but I've been talking about galactic convergence forever. It's been a theme that's been coming in. So what's the difference? And they're like, well, the convergence happens in layers and phases. And so you're really stepping into now with this 12/12 portal energy, which the frequency it's holding is one of merger, and collapsing is another way to say it. And so we're not only experiencing that on an individual level. Some of you might have seen my reel a few days ago where I was talking about needing to retrieve parts of my soul from different places I had lived and terminating those contracts so that I could come into completion and reclaim parts of me, converge parts of me, collapse parts of me into this timeline. And whenever you're doing soul retrieval, you really are calling back in that power and that energy. I have to go back to earlier this year when I kept telling you guys about that Disney Plus show called Loki. It's an Avengers Marvel Universe movie. We have to understand those concepts. That is exactly what we're dealing with. And you all know that this is not new because I've been talking about time since, 2 months ago, maybe even just a month ago, but the Mayan timekeepers came in. So they're in the field really strong, and they're in the field again for the 12/12 portal. I shall elaborate on that in just a moment. Before I do, I feel it would actually be in alignment to do somewhat of a calibration with light language. Yanakoko yamanakatiak yamatakoya namatakiak yamatakoya namatatiak uyinamaktiaya. These are codes of remembrance. Yashuko kiamgar aktia. They are connected to the Mayan timekeepers. Yamatakoya nanamaktiak. They are dissolving amnesia. That's what I'm hearing. Yamatakoya nanatakiak. Because the information I'm sharing with you is not new. Yanania sotia, yanania soto, yanania sotia, yanania sotio, yanania sotia, yanania sotio. Take a deep breath. Ooh, if you want to hear more of that, I do have a separate 1212 portal light language activation that you can listen to. And it's full on light language with music, so you can just turn it on right before you go to bed and be taken into a whole timeline collapsing experience. Yashotoko yama. A little bit more here. Yashotoko yama di karak no suya. All right. Just shake it out. So for those of you who would like a little bit of the basics of timeline convergence and timeline collapsing, essentially what we're looking at is, like I said, this is why that Loki show is so important. But we are taking all of these parallel timelines and we're harmonizing them into one. And the word that came through is that, yes, it applies to us individually, but they said we are holding space in this 1212 portal energy for a massive timeline collapsing on a galactic scale. And it involves several elements. The first thing that came into my awareness was the idea of 144,000 timelines. So I heard the word 144,000, which, we hear all the time. It has lots of different meanings. Some people say it's symbolic. Some people say it's literal. I have opinions on that I can share at a later date because it's not as pertinent to what we're doing. But then I was like, I've never heard 144,000 timelines before. But it is a galactic scale, multidimensional timeline collapse. The number 144,000 being a symbol of cosmic harmony. And I've been hearing that word, harmonizing. A lot of times we say healing. They're having me transition from that word. Sometimes with the word healing, we have so much programming around being wounded and needing to be healed. And it's like, no, it is what it is, and it's time to be harmonized. Like you separate, there's the dissonance, and then you reharmonize. So in fact, that's actually what's coming forward with my Orion lineage reconciliation project, which takes place the 20th and the 21st and the 22nd. Some of you heard me talk about that on the last podcast. It was so funny because I was actually tuning into the energy of the price. They were like, and the energy of the price needs to be encoded to what we're doing. And the energy needed to be 1, 2, 1. So from 1 split into duality and then back into 1 again. And that's that reconciliation and that's that harmonizing again. So the dissonance happens in the 2, the separation, and then you converge back into 1. So we're converging like numerous starseed parallel, like starseed as in galactic histories and timelines of duality and all stories. That's what they wanted me to share with you. Oh my goodness. We're harmonizing all these stories. Because what I've been diving into is if you guys hop on the internet, some of you probably have, and you start typing in these ideas of like Orion or Lyran or histories, galactic histories, let me tell you, you are going to get so many stories and versions. Let alone what's in the Ascension Glossary, which is an incredible detailed story. But as I was tuning in to all these resources, I was like, why? Some of it's not the ones I attach to. And they're like, well, but that's okay because they still exist. It's okay. You can hold space for stories that aren't the stories you tend to resonate with. But they're all stories and they all do exist on some level. But that's not the point. The point is that we're reharmonizing all of them into one. We're converging. And they're kind of getting to this space, our guides, I would say our galactic guides, our higher selves even, where they're like, okay, you have to release attachment to the stories. You are so attached to some of these stories. And I don't think that we can do the Orion Lineage Reconciliation Project until we do, well, let me put it this way. I think part of the Orion Lineage Reconciliation Project is to detach in a way from those stories in order to reharmonize them. Because if we're so rigid and anchored into them, there's no way they're going to be flexible enough to converge and merge and collapse. And this is all part of it. And it's very fascinating that one of the days of the sorry, I can't even speak because I'm feeling so much energy. The Orion Lineage Reconciliation Project was the 1221. So it was 1221, 1221 solstice needed to be that day as well. I wasn't planning any of this a couple of weeks ago. This is how fast things are going, my friends. Okay, I better keep going. I'm not going to make it through everything I have. So again, 1212 portal, 144,000 timelines, which I believe is symbolic. I think that is a name, not a literal number of 144,000, but it is signifying completion and cosmic harmony. And it's essentially a reset point. And with this reset point, I have been feeling many, many different things, as in clearing of the fragmentation, which I just referred to a second ago, about fragments of my own soul, my own soul being in different places. It's the same as above, so below, law of correspondence. We are clearing up this fragmented energy. In the Loki show, they prune timelines. They make that a negative thing, they make it a negative thing. Let me just put it that way. People are dying because they're destroying worlds in the blink of an eye when they prune the timelines. I was shown a little different way of doing it, which was to retrieve all the information in the codes that built out that particular matrix, that timeline, retrieve the codes and reintegrate the codes back into the main timeline and then prune or collapse it. That's a whole other thing I'm going to talk about. Just a second. I'll get there. I promise. So the other idea is allowing those 144 timelines to stabilize and anchor the galactic golden timeline, where I last year was talking more about a planetary golden timeline for Gaia. We're now opening wider in our ability to comprehend the way that what we are doing here is reflective of what's happening on a galactic scale. And so now we're going from this little more planet-centric viewpoint to galactic-centric viewpoint. Yes, that's the best way to articulate that. Okay, so what does this mean? We're going to feel like we're reharmonizing DNA, and it won't always be something we're consciously tuning into when it's happening, but we'll feel it in our bodies. We will feel it in our relationships with fellow human beings, with humans, because as these timelines converge and collapse on a galactic scale, it'll be reflected in a reparation of the fragmented energy of humanity, where the separation of humans and the wounding there will begin to be repaired. And as you and I mean, we can all imagine how wonderful that will be. So much of the conflict that has come forward on the planet is just due to the fact that we're forgetting that we're all family. We're all connected. Now, there's a big part of this timeline collapsing that I want to share with you. And it has to do with the idea of time locks. I've talked about this before. Time locks are not something that I invented because I read this. I know I read this somewhere, And I think it was in Bringers of the Dawn. Or it could be Earth Pleiading Keys to a Living Library. I'll try to find that for you and put the resource in the show notes. But the idea of time locks, they are essentially something that I was told to install at the 1010 portal. And we need to continue to install these at the significant portals that are happening with these numbers. So for the 1212 portal, we are anchoring in time locks in a very, very interesting way. What we're doing is we're recalling the important pieces of the timelines that are collapsing through two ways, predominantly what I've felt: written light codes and spoken light codes. So leading up to, in the next day, and during, and maybe even a little bit after the 1212 portal, there's going to be a big influx of light codes. And we have the, I want to say invitation, but it's almost the responsibility to anchor those in however we feel drawn. So I'm actually going to express like a call to action to all of you to do that in whatever way you feel drawn. So what we're again doing, okay, just to reiterate, is we are needing to save out pieces of those timelines, and they need to not be mushed together with everything else. They need to be separate, and they need to be put in repository, which Earth Gaia has volunteered to be a repository of galactic codes. We are now anchoring in the Galactic Akashic Records. This, I believe, is part of that. So we are anchoring in the specific codes needed to direct the ascension of Gaia, which will then reverberate out to the whole entire galaxy. So I'm just kind of channeling this a little bit here. I can feel this information dropping in. And I'm sitting here going, oh, that makes sense. That's why we need the Galactic Akashic Records access. That's why that was opened up to us more and is still opening up. But last month, that was the theme. So just take a deep breath. And you might even have a few codes come through right now. If you speak light language, you can go ahead and do those. Okay, so the time locks, the codes that were, there's a better word for it. I'm going to try to think of it. Salvage is not the right word, but salvage is the best word I could think of. We are retrieving certain codes before the rest of that timeline merges. I can see it. It's so hard to describe with words, but so the Mayan timekeepers are basically exist outside of time and space. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago on a podcast. And you can listen to that full 1212 portal activation that I channeled with them, all of these codes of remembrance. And what we're being reminded is that they are guiding and ensuring the integrity of the timelines, ensuring the process so that what is designed to collapse collapses and goes into, honestly, it's a state of chaos, but there's cycles, right, of everything, ensuring the cycles are well-rounded and balanced. They're letting me know that there are algorithms, there are galactic algorithms that our galaxy has consented to incorporate into its operating system that are necessary for the shifts that we are undergoing to take place. They're required. And so the Mayan timekeepers are ensuring that these algorithms are in place and supporting what we're doing. Ianak akto o ianak at ok anak akto. They're noticing that some of us are feeling that these algorithms, like we feel like on Earth, are controlling or manipulating us or manipulating the reality that we're co-creating. And they're encouraging us to sit with that and to allow ourselves to open to a greater understanding of the necessity of all of the players in this game and to see the utility of the algorithms in creating stability. Nukoya na aya. To allow ourselves to see creation running on these sets of formulas. An iat ok oyana ak ok nai inak ok, without which all would fall into chaos. Yan an et oyan an never-ending chaos and destruction, and all of creation would collapse in on itself in one split second. To be, if you want to make it dramatic. That's what they're saying. If you want to look at it in the most dramatic way possible, without these algorithms and what you call matrices, operating systems, everything would collapse in. And they're reminding us the same with time, because time was designed to allow source to experience itself in a linear fashion. Otherwise, everything would feel like it was being experienced all at once. And then there would be no ability to observe the unfolding. This is about the unfolding. And there's always an unfolding and a folding in happening simultaneously at any given moment in time, depending on what part of the galaxy or part of creation you are choosing to experience. And in this particular case, the timeline collapsing. Oh, this is so important. That reminded me of something that dropped in. The timeline collapsing is going to fuel a subsequent period of expansion. That's it. And what we need to do with the tools and codes we retrieve from the timelines which are collapsing is to repurpose them to build the golden age, the planetary golden age and the galactic golden age. And I'm hearing that these codes are specifically related to the circuitry of the solar framework, of the galaxy. I can see these codes. Okay, so the codes are stored in the sun. Okay. So the grid work we're being invited to do is to anchor all of the codes which we bring in from we package them up here and we somehow we deliver them to the suns. When and how, not sure, but that is the grid work. Some of you out there who are very intuitive shall probably be receiving information that you can share with us. Fun. So that's our grid work invitation. Wow. So this is the 1212 portal, and we are, again, going to be experiencing massive galactic timeline collapsing and convergence. And at Funiat Ananaya, our task, if we choose to accept it, is to assist with retrieving specific golden frequencies, golden light codes that will be salvaged from the collapsed timelines in order to Iananaka and Ianana reinforce and Oitananaya support this circuitry of the new solar templates of this sector of creation. And we already know how to do this. And that's why you're going to listen to the 1212 portal activation, which is codes of remembrance. So whatever your task is, it will be remembered as you listen to these codes of remembrance. It will be different for everybody. So even that task, which we were invited to do, yours might be a little different. Don't worry if it does feel like yours is a little bit slightly varied from this one. Everybody has their specialty. That's what they're saying. Everybody has their specialty. So embrace your specialty, your unique gifts and frequencies, your unique abilities. It's time to remember. That's it. It's time to remember. Now, speaking of that, I do want to remind you that I have the Galactic Akashic Records group activation at the end of December. And that one is going to incorporate a multidimensional soul integration. You will be literally integrating a galactic soul aspect that you are ready to integrate. At least that's what I'm going to hold space for, and everyone has the choice to do so or not. But we would love to have you join us on the 29th of December as we almost finish out this year. In addition to that, we have our Orion Lineage Reconciliation Project, which I spoke about in the last podcast. And we have our free Starseed Connection Circle Solstice theme on the 21st. All of the links are found in the show notes. Would love to have you join us, my friends. That being said, I'm sending you so much love and reminding you that I am you and you are me and we are we. Let's go, team. Until next time.